Today's video review is all about Stellar Blade, which is currently an exclusive on PlayStation 5. Does support a significant amount of PlayStation 5 Pro enhancements, and it did launch on April 26, 2024. I've been playing it nonstop after wrapping up Control. I cannot put this game down despite being horrible at it. I love it. It has lots of elements of a Dark Souls game. There's a little bit of like some Sekiro thrown in there. There's some of the glitz and glam of Bayonetta thrown in there. And it's a very, very beautiful world to experience with a great soundtrack and insanely punishing and simultaneously insanely rewarding combat. I'm playing it, of course, on PlayStation 5 Pro, which does lead me to a problem for some of my future video reviews, as I'm noticing this here, watching the playback with you guys, providing some commentary over the top of it. You're not seeing the game I'm seeing. I'm sure you could go check out Digital Foundry. Really, just only check out Digital Foundry. They are the absolute kings of this kind of stuff. But I don't have a high-end capture card. I've talked about this on my channel before. I dabbled with a high-end capture card, and I was not impressed. Not impressed in the least. So I took it back. And what you're looking at here is footage recorded from Twitch. Down-resed significantly. You're not seeing the high frame rate that I am seeing. It actually even looks a little stuttery here. I can promise you it doesn't look like this on my TV. You're going to have to take my word for it. And I think that's probably, just as a brief aside, some of the problems with PlayStation 5 Pro. People aren't looking at them properly. You can blame me specifically for this one, but you're looking at a PlayStation 5 Pro game on your iPhone or on your tablet. You're doing it wrong. You go look at it on 120 frame per second OLED television supporting HDMI 2.1, some of the latest innovations in Dolby, and then sit there and look me in the eye and tell me PlayStation 5 Pro isn't insane. So I'll leave it at that, but let's get back to Stellar Blade. I'll have more thoughts on PlayStation 5 Pro as a whole later on in the week or early next week. All right, so it's sitting right now at an 81 on Metacritic. Fans are a little bit more generous with it, giving it a 92. I would put it up there. This is definitely a Game of the Year contender, if at not least. It should be talked about as a game you cannot miss in 2024 because it's just that damn good. You have slight open world elements. It is largely linear, but there are deviating paths to explore inside of the various areas you will uncover. Each of them usually has some sort of difficult enemy or mini boss that is guarding some really cool treasure that you're gonna probably want later on, because this game is RPG heavy. There are tons of costumes and skills and perks that you will be putting your coveted stat points into, trying to build the best character you can. Your play style will be largely similar because this does borrow so much from Sekiro, for example. You're going to be doing defense a lot more than you do offense on boss fights. On these little cannon fodder enemies you see me running around and just basically eviscerating one shot, well, that's a little bit different of a story. But when you get into the meat of it and you're fighting these larger-than-life bosses, you're going to be pulling off perfect parries and dodges and pulling off some insane moves to build up your super meter to unload and punish on enemies. And that's kind of the flow of this game. You're going to try to hit me, I'm going to block you, and then I'm going to punish you when you kind of overcommit. And it's a very simple formula that Sekiro, I think, absolutely perfected, and this game continues, especially with those high frame rate modes. I'm playing this game on the PlayStation 5 Pro mode. There's actually two, one that favors frame rate, one that favors quality. And I'm playing it on the frame rate mode, and I'm getting about 85 to 90 frames per second with PlayStation 5 variable refresh rate support over the top of it. This game just sings, and it is insanely smooth. And in these kind of games where, like, inputs matter, right? You have to pull off the perfect dodge, the perfect block, the perfect parry, whatever. Boy, oh boy, does it look good. And you are absolutely able to perform with ease. And I love that this game rewards you in such a good way for that combat, because it does feel really, really good and satisfying when you're pulling off perfect blocks as the enemy is like enraged and hitting you like 5 or 6 times in a row. And you're just blocking, block, 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 like perfectly. And the sparks and the particle effects are going nuts, and the soundtrack's blaring, and you're having a blast, and your meter's filling up, and then you get to unwind, and you get to punish an enemy back and watch their health or their body parts just explode. And boy, is it cool. I can't say enough good things about that dopamine hit that this game provides. But it will come at a cost of your sanity, because it is a tough game. You will be punished. You will take a lot of deaths as you learn the mechanics. And while the game does hold your hand and put in some tutorial modes, and while the game does basically give you tons of money to go out and buy consumables to kind of help you make it through some of those tougher boss fights, at the end of the day, it's get good, son. And if you can't get good, you're not going to have a good time with this game. So there is that very steep barrier of entry. I believe there is like a story mode where if you want to just enjoy the story, you can. I would say the story mode isn't the greatest part of this game. Basically, Earth has been taken over by these big aliens, and you're part of this super hot babe committee who's basically drop landing in there to kill all of them to let humanity flourish again. That's really the plot. It doesn't deviate much from there. I haven't beaten the game yet, but I'm about 9 hours into it now, and it's pretty basic. You're gonna have a little drone piloted by your buddy, who's going to give you some tips and guidance. Later on, he will be used as a weapon. You're not seeing that here. There is a ranged element to this game with a gun. You will see that. You won't see that in this video, but it does come. So the progression of combat definitely trumps the progression of story. And basically, it's like, oh, wow, I'm in a new place, and I better just read logs of people who died and perished and search for loot, because that's what I really want. And that's not to say that there isn't a story here, and there's not to say there isn't some interesting things that happen, but it's definitely not something you're going to recall. You're going to remember playing this game for the insane combat. You're not going to remember it for the story. It does have light puzzle elements. There are some puzzles you'll have to solve that are unique. A lot of them revolve memorizing or finding codes to unlock certain doors. But the game does have this friendly hint system. So once you know the code, you press a button and it will basically show it to you. So you don't have to really write anything down or anything like that. There's a lot of places, just like in Control, that you're not going to be able to access right now. Treasure chests that you don't have the password to. Doors that don't seem to open right now, but they will later. You'll come back later if you want to, thanks to the fast travel system. And you'll continue to explore the map, and you'll go out and find fun new things that are worth checking out and doing if you so desire. If not, and you're rolling, just keep on rolling. The skill tree is fun. There are some parts of the skill tree that are basically blanked out that you won't be able to access until later on. Major story beats will provide you with some new abilities that make sense, like in the world of the story, that allow you to utilize in the gameplay. You can focus more on survivability or defense or ranged combat or general attack. It's kind of up to you. I suspect if you played this game enough, it seems like to me I'm going to basically unlock everything. Obviously, I have my favorite moveset. There are combos in this game, but I have my favorite moveset, probably very different than yours. But as long as the enemy dies and you don't, who cares? It's also worth mentioning this game has a beautiful, beautiful aesthetic that is this very modern looking aesthetic. Even in the way that like enemy health bars are displayed, or in the way that your HUD is overlaid. Everything has a very futuristic look to it. It looks like this game was sucked right out of Cyberpunk 2077. A lot of the character costumes that you get, and the designs and the animations that go into combat feel very very Eastern, right? There's a very heavy flair in this game to Japanese or to Chinese or to Korean fonts and textures and art style. A lot of kanji in here. And it's really, really pretty. It's like they went all out in this game to just make this very unique, stylized future Earth, right? That does have some callbacks to things like, oh, if I lived here, and this is way in the future, like, okay, I get these vehicles. Like, they still use construction equipment in the future. They still have telephones. They still drink Coke cans, that sort of thing. But then you'll see these overlays of some of the really cool fonts and art styles, and it just really sings well. Here is one of those, just talking about combat. You could see how when you do perfect moves, how beautiful combat flows, and how you just basically can eviscerate enemies very, very rapidly by dodging and performing certain attacks. This will become very, very important in the numerous boss fights, as you're not going to be able to just cheese them. You're going to have to basically stand toe-to-toe and to be able to manipulate and block their attacks to your advantage. I love this game. It is really, really a lot of fun. I get that this style won't be for everyone. I think a lot of people who are scared of the Souls games are probably going to want to steer clear of this one. But I did find, at least as I've played so far, the combat is so gorgeous. It gets away from that kind of medieval feudal look that a lot of Dark Souls games or Elden Ring has had. And it throws you in such a new, bright, vibrant environment that it's actually different and I think fun enough that you may want to check it out, even if you're not a fan of those games. And of course, even though, again, you can't see it, the fact that it does have PlayStation 5 Pro support and it works so well is amazing. Bonus points to the developer for leaving the original modes in the game. You had like 5 modes to play before, varying on frame rate or performance or balance, and they just add more pro-only modes that are there. So if you don't want any of those and you just want to play the vanilla 4K 30, you can. You don't have to worry about that. But I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't have a Pro, obviously. And like I said, the vibrancy, the particle effects, the lighting, all works so well. This game does support Tempest 3D audio very well. It's one of the few games that I actually do recommend you play with 3D audio because it is tuned so well. Obviously, you have the beautiful soundtrack playing in the background. It is catchy music. You're going to be humming it to yourself when you're taking a shower and driving to work, and you're probably going to want to pick up the soundtrack like I'm going to do. But on top of that, you're going to be in for a treat with all of the clanks and the lightning and the gunshots and the blocking and the slurping and gurgling of enemies and all the environmental stuff that you're going to walk over and all the textures you're going to explore and touch in this game. Sounds so good in 3D audio. I would say that Demon's Souls, I think, up until now is kind of the gold standard on 3D audio. I would make a strong case that this game has some insane audio. The gaffing in this game is not to be overlooked. But that'll wrap up today's review on Stellar Blade. I love this game, in case you couldn't tell, based on the Metacritic, based on the other people that I know who are into video games. I am not alone in this. It is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. I believe it's coming to PC later on. I don't know if it's coming to Xbox or not, but just another reason why you need to play PlayStation 5 Pro. It's the best place to play games, and you're going to get absolute gems like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.